Welcome to the Upfront Radio. I'm your host, Suha Beidas Zehl, and this is the show where we get real about the mortgage and lending industry. Straight talk conversations with some of the sharpest minds in our space. In today's episode, we have a very special guest and truly one of those sharpest minds. Delfino Aguilar, Chief Production Officer with Kind Lending. Let me give you a little bit background about Del. Del leads all production channels at Kind, wholesale, retail, and TPO. With more than 2 decades in mortgage and financial services, Del's career path is a study in long-term commitment. Just 3 companies across 20 plus years, including nearly 15 years working with Kind Lending's founder, Glenn Stearns, that dates back to their time at Stearns Lending. Del joined Kind in 2020 as part of the founding senior leadership team and was tapped to build out the wholesale production division from the ground up. So you know he knows what he's talking about. And under his leadership, Kind's TPO business grew into one of the top 5, let me say that again, top 5 wholesale lenders in the country within 5 years. That trajectory was fueled by his deep knowledge of agency and government guidelines and his reputation for building strong broker relationships, and his leadership style that's truly centered around lifting his teams rather than just hitting numbers. Please help me welcome Del to the Upfront Radio. Hi, Del.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's an honor. It's a privilege to be here with you. Wow, thank you for the introduction. Very humbling. It's been a great experience here at Kind Lending, and I'm honored to be here with you and very, very appreciative of the time we get to spend together here today. I will say that we have been able to grow it, obviously, with Glenn and Mindy, our founders. Suha, we have a great team. I want to talk about them a little bit today as well, too, but it's really about the team. I am one of the founders. I can't believe it's going to be 6 years. Suha, it's going to be 6 years in a couple of weeks. I had a full head of hair when we started. No, I'm kidding. But no, but it's been such a wonderful experience, and I'm just excited to continue to grow it. So here we go.
That's wonderful. Well, I have to tell you that I personally know Jen Folk.
Yes.
She is a wonderful, wonderful leader.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of meeting her, back in 2018, I want to say.
Uh-huh.
And just most recently, I actually sat on a panel with Mindy at the IMB.
Yeah.
No, it was at MBA Annual where we did the mentorship.
Right.
So it's the leadership team is obviously really, really great at Kind, and you guys are doing the right thing. And I just love the name Kind.
Yeah. Kind.
It's wonderful.
It is. And Jen, Jen has been here for a year already, and she's made a big impact in our organization. She's awesome. Yeah. Every morning except today, I usually, her and I connect every morning around 6 a.m. around there, 6 or 6:30, planning for the day. But Mindy is obviously our chief kindness officer here at Kind, and we believe in culture tremendously, and what she's doing as well here at the company is great too. So we're surrounded by a lot of powerful women, which is awesome. I love that. Great.
I love that too. So let's jump right into production.
Yeah.
You're like knee deep and elbows deep in that.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you actually draw the line between what a human needs to own and what you're comfortable letting artificial intelligence handle? Is there a moment in the loan cycle that you go, you know what? Nope, that's going to be done by a person?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think if you look at the evolution of just technology in general, do you remember when like DU and LP was rolled out, right? They're
yeah.
Oh my God, the underwriters are done. Like it's going to decision every tool. It's going to every loan, It's going to take, that tool is going to be the leading indicator. And obviously it is a great tool, right? But what I think, obviously you need that final human touch, the sign off of an approval after all the data, the information has been calculated. I think that's the biggest part, right? Where you say, take a stop and you're like, okay, the system verified the income, et cetera. But we need that final clearance from a human, right? To double check it, because the data input is critical to the decision making, right? So if the data is validated correctly, all that piece, it's great. But when it comes down to it, if you're going to sign it off, it has to be a human, right? To give you that final check, right? The systems are great. Obviously, we're using a lot of great technology that's out there to help us validate information. We're going to talk a little bit about that, I think, here in a little bit. But for us, that's where you need that human touch. And where we're using artificial intelligence AI for us is really to humanize the process. So it's not just about being able to get the information and that's it. I think we're using it to validate, but also get somebody else to maybe make an extra phone call to a customer and really connect with our borrowers and our brokers and loan officers. And that's what we're going to be using it for and what we're using it for now. So freeing us a little bit of the admin to be more of a human touch. So it's great.
Yeah, no, I love how you described it. It's kind of like you're using it to connect the dots. You're using it as a
Mhm.
tool, not as a replacement.
Correct.
Whenever I'm speaking on artificial intelligence, I always say it takes human intelligence plus the
Yes.
artificial intelligence to create that successful journey. Just like following up on that
Yeah.
thought, have you seen that line move in the last 12 months? What were you maybe uncomfortable saying that's going to be done by artificial intelligence, and now you're like, you know what, it got this. That's something I can, using discernment, I can actually say this, I can actually hand off to artificial intelligence with that human oversight.
Yeah, I think I go back to what if I'm using it for income calculations, right? I think
Mhm.
that's a big piece where we're seeing
Yeah.
it, being able to validate, those documents that are coming in. I think also being able to identify the documents and being able to really move quickly on that piece, right? And seeing what's a bank statement, what's title insurance, what parts of the loans that we can identify quickly in
Uh-huh.
the past, we had somebody double checking it. Okay, is this
Yeah.
correct? Is this, do we feel comfortable with that? I think that's a big piece of it as well too. But really focusing around trying to empower our team to kind of trust it as well too, right? I think getting the mindset right on it is a big piece as well. Like saying, hey, this is really going to be helping us grow. And I think that's been a big piece where we've been able to adjust as the market continues to change. And
Well,
and one
what?
thing too, I just have this piece
Yeah,
is
of
that
course.
one thing that we've noticed, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this as well too, is how fast the technology is changing. I feel like we look at something and it's ready to go, right? We're like, oh, this is awesome, great tool, and then 2 weeks later, something else comes out, and then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we can use that, and then it's like 2 weeks later, something else. So I see that changing in a lot. Running production for all channels. Jen and I get hit a lot with, hey, look at this technology, et cetera, right? And I think that's part of, I guess, the best technology that you feel comfortable with. Kind of leads a little bit to your question. It also is the one that we use, right? The one
Yeah.
that we can get our teams trained on efficiently.
Absolutely.
That's a big part of our decision making too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So to answer your
Yeah,
thought, your question, yes, the pace and velocity of change is incredibly fast right now.
yeah,
And what I tell personally my clients as an
yeah,
advisor and a consultant is figure out what problem you're trying to solve.
that's right.
There are a plethora of tools out there. So unless you know what your problem is and what you're trying to solve, you're going to get into that. Well, can we look at this? And can we look at this? And does this work for us? And so you have to figure out what is it that I want to solve and
Mhm.
then move away from that, which actually brings me to my next question. And you
Yeah,
hinted at it. You talked about income. And what I want to talk about is the fact that income itself continues to be one of the challenges
yeah,
that creates friction in our process,
mhm.
with issues showing up much later,
In the
creating
process. Mhm.
some friction for customers, for loan officers. I have a couple of questions with follow ups on that, but let's start with how much, in your opinion, does that actually cost a lender in volume and production when you have these late surprises coming up, especially
Yeah.
when it relates to income?
Yeah, quite a bit. And I think what it puts stress on a couple areas, right? If I could
Mhm.
talk to it. So when it comes
Yeah.
down to like to the end of the transaction, it causes relationship strain from
Mhm.
everybody involved, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big part, and we care so much about relationships. So being able to articulate an issue earlier in the process helps us with that, and setting the right expectations as well too. There is a cost of time as well. Slowing the process down. That's a big part of what the race I think feels now. Like closing, like 7 days, 8 days. You see lenders talking a lot about that. So time, coming up with issues on that piece is an issue. But for us, what we try to do is communicate as much as we can with our brokers, our loan officers, and our borrowers. I think that prevents some of the issues that I just talked about, the relationship constraint, the time constraint. But it definitely is. There's also financial, right? There's extensions that have to be paid and et cetera if things come up later. So But for us, we try to focus on over communication, right? Not assuming, Suha. So I think that's what helps us prevent these type of issues. But for one of the most important parts, I said over communication is setting the right expectations with everybody. I think that's a big part as well too. That prevents these things. But they happen. I just was involved in something over the weekend where an income piece came up that wasn't caught earlier by the originator. And there's a saying in Spanish, and I'm gonna kind of throw something out here. It's called "No pasa nada." It says nothing happens. It's all good. We'll figure it out. So even though as a lender, you still see these things happen at the end, but we always find a way to make it work. I think communication, like I mentioned, make sure the relationship's in the forefront, and the time is very sensitive, but we always figure it out here at Kind.
And I love how you phrased that, how you
Hmm.
kind of like shifted the lens on it a little bit.
Hmm.
And over communication, that's so critical because that's one of the areas that our industry is also challenged with. I mean,
Right.
customers really complain about the fact that I don't know what's happening. I don't know, all of a sudden I got this alert that
Yeah,
that there's an issue with income or with a document or whatever. So obviously the stakes are really high
they
with
are.
real dollars and real operational pain. And so when Kind started to kind of use that shift left mindset where you began to leverage artificial intelligence to validate income earlier in the process, in the
Yeah,
funnel. What was that? What was the impact of that on your volume and production? So now taking the other
yeah,
side of that
yeah.
equation.
It is like I mentioned a little bit earlier here. It's a race to close as fast as you can, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's where we've seen the pickup when we use these kind of tools that are out there is being able to communicate faster if there's an issue, right?
Hmm.
That we caught. I think that's a big piece. But we have seen a lift. We can anticipate as high as 20-30% probably in a lift as we continue to use more and more of these tools. And I think that's an important part where it takes some of this. I'm going to cover a little bit. I think it's important to talk a little bit about this too. Is it takes some of the administrative pieces away to help us grow the business as well, right? To use these great talented individuals that we have here at Kind to be able to use them in other resources to continue to grow, and that has helped us move talent where we can help us grow and make a real impact in production. And I think that's a big piece. How cool is it if you have a condition coordinator or an underwriter that is freed up a little bit more that can actually call and connect for a loan officer and be more detailed with an approval or a condition question. That is a direct correlation to increasing volume because you strengthen your relationships. And that's what we're using it for. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, and I love how you again, how you've shared it is very
Yeah.
meaningful because you're letting you're letting artificial intelligence do what it does best, and you're letting your team, your human
Yep.
intelligence, do what they do best, which is build those relationships, create that trust, do everything that they need to do. They'll edit this, so
Yeah.
but I do like how you phrased it with the relationship building and
Yep.
the trust creation. But I do want to follow up on that and ask, have you witnessed, with that change, with that lift that you're getting, have you witnessed changes with your loan officers and your borrowers when you catch income issues earlier? Have they like begun to really trust that the artificial intelligence, that the tools that you're using are actually working? And has it changed the conversation?
Mhm.
Or just does that conversation feel different now that you've actually implemented those tools?
It does, and let me tell you most recently why I think it's important to share this because it does because a lot of loan officers that I speak to, I really see two sides. There's not an in between out there right
Yeah,
now, right? There's loan officers who are deep in it, that love AI, that are using it, that are using it for their CRMs, using it when they get an approval, they'll upload it, they'll digest it. There's a lot of different things. So I see that. Then I see other sides where they're like, I'm not going to get involved in it. Like, I'm going to wait till it's figured out. I don't really trust it, right? The sides that are deep in it and are open to it are the ones that are not only excelling now, doing more business. Okay, they're doing more business, but they're also the ones that are going to take the majority share of the business going to get out there. Because
yeah,
Suha, what's going to happen is, and it's happening now. I think it's in a couple of years, right? Talking in the future, every lender is going to have their own version of their AI, how they use it, right? It's going to be a simple
absolutely.
process to hit an approval. We're going to have the human importance of validating income, et cetera, signing off, et cetera. But then what's going to really shine is the people that are using what they've done to free them up to go originate, to connect to more CPAs, more partners that give them referral partners, and be out in the field, seeing customers out in person now. If they're using it correctly, the people that I've seen use it, do that now. So I think that's the shift, is that the acceptance. It's not that it's taking on the unknown and being okay with it and using the tools that are out there. So yes, I have seen a shift. And on the borrower front, I think nowadays there's so much out there in the news, and you can tell that 80%, over 80% of applications start online. So loan officers send them a link. So I think borrowers are getting more accustomed to it, but there are still some that are not fully, just like loan officers and originators. I have seen that shift, and it's exciting to me because I'm a very big relationship guy. Okay, like I travel a lot. I go out and build relationships. I've done it my entire career as an account executive, as a regional, and I think that's what's going to separate companies as they continue to grow. Okay, so I have seen a shift, and I love to see I love to see that, because I go into offices, they're like, Del, check this out. I updated this, and we're doing this, and our loan officers have these tools now for AI, and I see that, but I also see the other side too. So that's the only piece that I caution people watching this is dive in deep, talk to your lenders, get the resources out there, because there's a lot of resources. Like your guys' company is great, and there's a lot of resources out there to help individuals that need more attention to this, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think, what you're saying is that gap is going to continue to widen.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't jumped in, now is the time to actually, before that gap even grows bigger. So we've established that, one of the things that we need to do is calculate income up front to make sure that we are validating it and eliminating that friction. And part of the reason it's really important is because our borrowers these days are no longer the warts cleaver, where they have one job, they're going, it's a W-2. It's very straightforward. Today, you have self-employed borrowers, gig workers that may actually even have a W-2, and their income is very, very calculated. Is our industry being too conservative right now, or is the caution justified on how we proceed from here?
That's a great question. I think what I have seen is it is justified as we continue to grow, right? Like, I think lenders are using the tools that are out there, but I still think that because there's so many different types of income streams out there, it's important to grow cautiously, right? And responsibly as an industry. So I think that's one of the things that we're looking at. And as I speak to other lenders, they're using it. But I go back to what I was talking earlier about validating with the human touch. I think that there are tools, and it is needed, because there's so many different type of income streams. You have people using part-time jobs, several part-time jobs, right? And so I think it's great, the technology, but I think it's important to grow cautiously and with that eagerness to be open to new technologies. So it's both. I don't know.
So let's shift from production to people now, because we know that brokers are really your front line. How do you keep them aligned in getting the right information upfront from their borrowers?
Education. We have a lot of trainings here at Kind for our brokers and loan officers. We do a lot of training regarding submissions, income calculation. We also do closing seminars, especially we were talking earlier about different streams of income in the non-QM space. We have a ton of training in that arena. I think the biggest part that I'm very proud of here at Kind is our account executives and our loan officers here at Kind have a ton of experience. So on average, our AEs have over 20 years of experience on average, right? And most of them have about 25 years. And so we're really proud about that. And so that's how we're educating I think making sure we're educating them with the trainings is important. And every lender is doing them out there. So I'm a big promoter, Suha, also that there's enough business for everyone out there. So we're stronger as a community together, as all lenders partner together. And that's what I really suggest if anybody watching is a loan officer, a broker owner, make sure you attend as many trainings as possible. And that's what we do a ton of on a weekly basis. We offer that. We also offer trainings individually. So if somebody requests training on making sure they're submitting income to us correctly, that's a big part of it as well too. We also have an income calculation desk here at Kind Lending. So we teach them, they submit it to us. We have a bank statement review also for non-QM. So being upfront with all these pieces of the business is really important to us. And that's how we're making sure that they send us what we need when they submit the files.
I think education and training is imperative in our
Yep.
industry, especially with the pace of change, the velocity that's happening right
Yeah.
now. And I think it happens on both sides, both the your brokers, but also the customers, also your own team.
Mhm.
And which kind of takes me into the next question, because we've all heard horror stories of failed adoption. And when we bring a new technology into a production team, it kind of like really it changes how they work. It basically forces them to reimagine their workflow, the
Yeah.
way they do things. How did that transition actually look at Kind Lending when you brought on those new artificial intelligence
Yeah,
tools?
I think that as we continue to bring on more and more, the important thing is for our teams to be involved. I
Yeah,
think that's a big piece, right? Like having
yeah.
them be part of the testing, giving us feedback. I think that has been a big piece of what's made us successful in the areas that we've used it. Collaboration is key for us here at Kind. We've been very blessed and fortunate, Suha, to have a lot of great individuals join us from different companies. So you mentioned working at Stearns before. For sure, we have a lot of our team from Stearns. But we've been really, really fortunate and blessed to have a lot of great talent from other companies. So we involve them on what we're doing as well too. So there's a culture here of collaboration, right? And we
Mhm.
just went through a big exercise in January where we went through every single piece of our business from uploading the document to the closing. And we took everybody from each department that actually does the work. It's not executives in there making decisions. It's the people that are in there boots on the ground making decisions. And I think that's been helping our teams as we continue to grow and use more technology is being involved in it, right? There's no fear. You're part of the decision making as well too. And how do we collaborate together to make it successful for our brokers and borrowers? That's been a big piece of ours.
And I think that's a really critical piece,
Mhm.
because you're right. It's the boots on the ground who are actually
Mhm.
doing the work. And so making sure that you're involving them. And I love the fact that you took the time. I mean, it's not necessarily that you're documenting the process, but you
Mhm.
went through
Yeah.
from uploading documents to closing
Mhm.
to really understand your current process, your
Correct.
current workflow, so you can reimagine it as you bring in those new tools.
It's
And a
important.
lot of companies have not done that. So
Yeah.
kudos to you guys.
Yeah, no, it's been important because if you think about the evolution of how the company has grown, first of all, Glenn has a big appetite to continue to grow, right? All of us
Yeah,
do, right? We want to
absolutely.
continue to grow. We never say we want to be number one. If we do the right things in the business and listen to our borrowers and our employees, we'll continue to get there. We'll continue to grow organically. But one of the big pieces is, like I mentioned, the collaboration, right? That's the best piece. And we grew so fast, so like you mentioned earlier, we grew quickly. So it's important to take a step back and say, okay, is this the best process for our brokers and our loan officers, but also for our internal team members? How can we make their life easier if they're doing it every single day? So I think that's been a big part of us using technology and going through our mapping exercises that we've done here as a company.
I love it. So let's close out by
Yeah,
looking into the future. We're going to put on our future looking
I
glasses
got them
now.
on. I got them on.
So 3 to 5 years out,
Uh-huh.
where is lending headed? And what's the shift that most people in our industry are still not paying attention to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm a very optimistic guy, right? I think that I've always looked at the glasses half full in everything I've done. And I think that there's a lot of excitement happening in lending because there's so many different areas for us to have more. I've said this several times on this human intervention, right? And I think this business has always been driven for technology and to lower costs, which we are doing. Every lender has to do it to continue to compete. But I got a feeling here that pretty soon, in the next 2, 3 years, like technology is going to be taking a lot of pieces of the business, removing some of the admin to make it easier for us to be able to connect and grow. That realtor you didn't have a chance to call back to, you'll be able to call 5 realtors in that same span,
Yeah.
right? Connect with more borrowers. And so I see technology being used to continue to validate, to remove some of the administration pieces, to help us with guidelines. I think some of the pieces that people tend not to pay attention to is making sure data is correct. I think making sure data integrity is important. I think as you continue to grow, that's one of the pieces that sometimes might be forgotten, but it's an important piece to make sure that what you're inputting into the intelligence, what it's learning, I think that's really important, right? Because it learns.
Garbage in, garbage
That's
out.
right. That's right. So it learns, right? AI
Yeah,
learns. And
absolutely.
so that's a big part, but I'm excited not only for our company but I'm excited for the industry. And one thing, whoever's watching this, I think you mentioned mentorship earlier. If you're a younger person getting into the industry or somebody transition into it, it's an exciting time to be in the mortgage industry, no matter what rates do, no matter what programs are out there. There people always need a home. People always have life events that changes their landscape of where they're going in their life. So there's always need for financing for home ownership. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. So I'm very optimistic, regardless of what's happening in the geopolitical atmosphere. Obviously, we're in a global economy, so a lot of pieces of that affect us. But it's important to always have a positive mindset. We're big on the mindset piece here at Kind Lending. We send out a Sunday message. I send out a Sunday message to the entire company around that. So there's a lot of excitement. I think programs are going to open up a bit. I think that there's some excitement around that. We're learning from investors that they have different programs they want us to look at. So that's exciting as well too. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm optimistic of what's to come and very hopeful that the industry is going to continue to grow.
Sounds like you're looking at it with really, a very positive outlook, which I find very encouraging.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I do. That's the way you got to look at it. I mean, there's a lot of things you can focus on the negative. They're out there, right? But keeping that mindset is really important.
I agree. Del, it has been a pleasure having you join me on the Upfront Radio today. Thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights with our audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope it was beneficial to everyone. It was so nice to spend some time with you guys today.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Del Aguilar, Chief Production Officer at Kind Lending. Please share this with your network and don't forget to subscribe so you get the next episode in your inbox. I'm Suha Zehl, and this is the Upfront Radio by Prudent AI. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.